my friend Coach Powers here, and I wanted to do a quick video on a topic that I think is the biggest misperception of me, the biggest misconception, is that I don't believe in bind. So I labeled this video, Does Coach Powers Believe in Bind? So let's dive into this for a minute. And I think I might be a little bit guilty at adding to the confusion. So I want to try to clear this up. First, let me say yes, Coach Powers absolutely does believe in bind. But now let's see if we end up at the same place here. If we have the same definition of bind. If by bind we mean a very real, prolonged, post-benzo sort of neurological dysregulation that causes immense suffering and confusion. If we're talking about symptoms of withdrawal that can go on 2 or 3 years post-benzo even, yes, I believe in that. If we're talking about loops of trauma and dysregulation in the body caused by the trauma of coming off of benzos, yes, I'm with you. That's how I would define it. And if we're talking about sensitization issues created through withdrawal, yes, we're all talking about the same thing again, right? Still on the same page. If we're talking about obsessive, incessant rumination, if we're talking about high glutamate, if we're talking about continuous states of survival response in your limbic system triggered through withdrawal, yes. And that's where I think we might start to teeter off a little bit here. We might start to go our own path here a little bit in this definition. Is that the way I view bind is not that it's brain damage, not that it's if someone took a hammer, or it's as if someone took a knife and cut some neurons in your brain or something. It's not a traumatic brain injury in that sense, guys. I look at it more as a very painful but very real process of neuroadaptation. That's the word, neuroadaptation and recalibration. That's what's happening. And maybe you could say modulation, if you had to use 3 nerdy words there. That's what's happening in the brain. It's in a sense normal and organic. It's just not usual. And it produces absolutely debilitating symptoms. And so I was a little shocked. I had a student point this out to me today about how many people think I don't believe in bind, and I just didn't realize that was the case. And I think part of that is because I have put out videos saying, is bind real? What is bind? I've been very critical questioning bind. But understand it's a semantic issue. It's about what do we mean when we say bind. If we're talking about neurotoxins and brain damage at 10 years later, I have not seen evidence of that. It's not a neurotoxin. First off, that's just pseudoscience jargon. If I believe in the identity that goes into bind, that's where I have a problem with the term. But when we say bind, to me, we're using an umbrella term. We're using a broad umbrella term that really lacks acute definition. It's like saying someone has anxiety. Oh, she has anxiety. Well, what do you mean? Social anxiety? Agoraphobia? Panic? Health anxiety? Anxiety about relationships? Anxiety about other fixations or phobia? I mean, what are we saying? Anxiety? It's such an umbrella term. Bind is an umbrella term. Any way you splice it, it really is. But bind seeks to point to something in a way that says protracted isn't enough. To say I'm in protracted withdrawal from benzos, I don't feel like it's enough. I feel like it's too vague, and it doesn't point at the fact that protracted can go on for longer than I think the medical professionals are acknowledging. So we need another word that points beyond that. And in that, I'm one leg in and one leg out. I love where it's heading. It's just what I know, being a PhD in clinical psych, spending 20 years in academia, working with doctors, it's a hard sell, guys. It's a hard sell. I mean, those guys, their brains are like med textbook glossaries. And if it's not in their glossary, I worry that bind's going to push them away. But you know what? Maybe over time it'll work its way in, and it indeed is getting into the papers and such. And maybe it will start to be more of a, catch on and be more recognized and respected for what it is. And I'm not against that. I support that 100%. That's all I want is advocacy and awareness. That's why I made a feature film on the damn topic. But we've got to be careful of how we do it, and we got to be clear in our definitions. And there's too much, muddy water around what is bind, right? And even when I brought on D. Foster, he had a different definition than a dozen other people that I spoke to, and he created the term, or he was instrumental in creating the term. And me and D saw eye to eye on all of this. And if you really want to see my feelings on this, you can go back and watch that podcast with D. Foster. And we were agreeing in all this. And he said, we got to be careful about how we define bind, because I don't want this term becoming some kind of, like an identity label for people, to, an umbrella of doom and pseudoscience and misunderstanding. He didn't want that either. And that's all I'm saying. I don't want that. Everything is bind. It's grossly overused, and it robs people of the agency of going deeper. And that's my only problem with the way it's being used. As all the other stuff, using it to spread awareness and to communicate an idea, and great. But when we start talking about what the hell is it, there's a lot more nuance there, and there's a lot of indoctrination and very dogma. There's dogma around bind. There's a lot of connotation around bind, and you talk to 50 different people, and you're probably going to get 50 different variations of what it is, right? Now, I lived benzo withdrawal. I was on a high dose of benzos for a decade. I cold turkey 20-30 milligrams of Valium overnight. I spent several months in bed. I spent months pacing with akathisia. I almost took my life over this, guys. I understand it. It took me 2 years to taper, 2 more years to heal. And in every video and book or anything I've ever published and talked and spoke about this, I've been very clear that it took a lot from me, and that I was in benzo withdrawal at least 2 years post benzos, right? But after that 2 years, I stopped just focusing on the benzo part, and I started looking at the other aspects, and that's when my life really started to change. The problem isn't the word, the problem is the way it's being used, I think, if there is any problem. The term bind is becoming, like I said, like an umbrella term, like anxiety or trauma. But when someone says they have bind, it doesn't really explain much. Are they saying it's hyperarousal? Is it limbic system sensitization? Is it trauma loops? Is it neurological dysregulation, emotional dysregulation, cortisol dysrhythmia, identity fusion, hopelessness? I mean, there's so many things going on here. Is it the pre-existing? Is it the things that manifested? Is it paradoxical reactions? I mean, what are we talking about here? That's where I push back on. But I think I've been clear here in this video, trying to, add my definition, which I think aligns perfectly with the definition of what the term means. I accept the definition. I accept the term. I support it. I've quoted it. I just reject the connotations, the doom and gloom, can't heal, I'm permanently damaged, I have brain damage. I push back on the fatalistic parts, right? People will say, I have permanent brain damage, I have bind. This is untreatable, I have bind. All you can do is wait for years to heal, I have bind. Right? And that's not hope, that's identity. That's an identity locked into trauma. And this turns a temporary state into a lifelong identity, a lifelong loop of illness, in a way that I don't think you guys are giving full credit to. I really don't think 99% of the benzo community truly understands the power of trauma and what it does to the brain and how it can mimic all of this stuff. And once you understand trauma and you understand how to work through it, yes, you don't need to have receptors heal 100% to start to get things moving in your favor. You don't. You just need enough. You just need enough to get the ball moving in the right direction, and you will be utterly blown away with what's possible. So what do I see that's going on here? What's the neuroscience support? It supports that we're seeing a limbic system stuck in survival mode, guys. It supports sensitized nervous systems that overreact to the smallest amount of stress and internal cues, what we call interoception, a feedback loop of bodily sensations and symptoms into the amygdala fight or flight mode. We're talking about a brain that needs neuroplastic input, neuroplastic leadership, that needs to rewire and change its own relationship with fear. And you can call that bind or dysregulation or trauma imprinting, but what matters is what you do about it. Right? So I don't dismiss bind, guys. I've lived it. I support it. I'm here for the cause, believe me. I have bled for this community. For the last 15 years, I have bled for this community. So to be sort of the black sheep sometimes and be put on the outside and read things that pop up on Reddit and different things, it's disheartening, you know? It's really disheartening because they're all misguided, and it just baffles me. But anyway, I don't minimize the suffering, guys. I've lived it. I've cried. I've paced. I've grieved. And just like many of you, I've rebuilt over the years. But I refuse to hand my students a label that comes with a coffin lid. I won't do it. Instead, I'm going to hand you a toolbox, a map, a North Star, a way out gradually. Not a fire extinguisher, not a miracle cure, right? Not a new medicine, not a new therapy, not a new supplement. Just teaching you how to work your nervous system, understand it, and get things trending in the right direction again for you. And once you do, you would be amazed at what's possible. Okay? So, there are people out there that's avoiding my content or me or even the school because they think I'm dismissing bind. I want to say clearly, you've been misinformed, or apologies if I have somehow misrepresented that. I believe in bind. I just won't let it be the end of your story.